Thank you very much for staying on. Welcome back. Now to our very first story. Ecobank recorded the highest profit in the banking industry for last year. That's the conclusion one could draw after going through the published results of 30 commercial banks in the country. But how did other banks fare, and what could be the impact of their performance on the economy? George Riafe tells us more.
Ecobank recorded a profit before tax of 457 million Ghana cedis, which was still the highest among the published results so far, despite the marginal dip in its earnings compared to what was recorded for 2015. GCB followed with 446 million Ghana cedis, whilst Barclays had 423 million Ghana cedis. Among the top banks, or call them the Big Seven banks, Barclays had the highest growth in profit compared to what they had in 2015. But it wasn't all rosy for these big banks, as Stanbic, Carl and Fidelity Bank all witnessed a decline in earnings compared to what they had in 2015. In terms of loans and deposits, the results were mixed. While some banks saw strong growth in this area, majority of the banks didn't see any significant increase in this area. Loans that banks fear might go bad was still a big problem, as some posted very high impairment, with the Bank of Ghana putting the amount at around 7 billion Ghana cedis as at April this year. Total industry profits recorded some significant increase to reach 739 million Ghana cedis. For some, these good earnings, despite the challenging economic environment, could mean some increased tax for the state, good returns to investors and shareholders, depending on the dividend policy of that bank, and also some bonus for staff. Also, some banks have a policy of plowing back these earnings into the business, a development that could lead to some strong growth in branches and even leading to some marginal reduction in the cost of credit in the country.
And in another development, Ecobank Group Executive in charge of Operations and Technology, Eddie Ogbogu, says if banks do not wake up to the occasion, they would be wiped out. He was reacting to the rapid evolution of technology in the banking industry. To this end, Ecobank has gathered talent on the African continent to explore ways of bridging the gap in financial technology.
The financial technology and the fintechs are disrupting the financial sector, but we shouldn't look at it as if they are taking over the banks, but rather they are collaborating the banks for the consumers to be, better served.
With technologies mostly targeting the gaps in the financial sector, as well as helping to reach the unbanked, 20 contestants were selected out of 800 applicants to contest. 3 of the contestants were female, 3 Ghanaians, Nigeria leading the pile, with the rest from various African countries. Pitch after pitch, each candidate mainly targeting consumers talked about their technologies. The first, second and third prizes all went to Nigerian startups. Winner of the Ecobank FinTech Challenge shared his thoughts on how financial technologies can improve Africa's financial system. The first, second and third position winners went home with $10,000, $7,500 and $5,000 respectively.
All right, so we'll stay a little longer in the banking industry, where news reaching us indicates that the ADB Bank shareholders held an emergency annual general meeting to make some changes to their regulations restricting government's hold on the bank, and also to appoint a new managing director. We'll shortly bring you the details in a jiffy. But moving on, Ghana has signed a memorandum of understanding with Equatorial Guinea to purchase liquefied natural gas, LNG, for powering its thermal plants. This is part of an initiative by Equatorial Guinea known as Gas for Africa, which is aimed at selling about 50% of its LNG to the African nation. Speaking at the 8th Annual Ghana Oil and Gas Summit in Accra, Minister of Mines, Industry and Energy of Equatorial Guinea, Gabriel Mbaga Obiang, disclosed that Ghana will be the first country in Africa to benefit from the initiative.
West African pipeline is not a good initiative. We should do it, but we should have those alternatives. We have the representative of General Electric, that they have a very good presentation regarding the virtual pipeline. It means that you don't need to do a pipeline. If you want gas in any corner, you can transport it. And this is not something that Equatorial Guinea have invented. They do it in Australia, they do it in Marbella, they do it in the United States, they do it in Japan, Korea. Why in Africa they cannot do it? It's to send ship of LNG, put it in container and take it to very remote places, and they will be working with gas. So I have to say, and I want to thank my fellow minister from from Ghana, that yesterday we are starting an initiative. It's called LNG to Africa. And we are starting with Ghana. We have signed a memorandum of understanding with Ghana to look the possibility for us to send LNG, because it's very sad that we can negotiate contracts with Chile, with Singapore, with Korea, and we are sending LNG every day, but we can't send one single drop of LNG in Africa. So we're going to put, personally in Equatorial Guinea, put all the efforts to make sure that we can supply LNG, because if you have LNG, you can deliver it to any place, any corners that you need, and you don't need a pipeline or anything. You just need to have a power plant, a regasification plant, and you do it like they do in Tanzania, in Australia, in Spain, and different other places. The issue about the floating LNG, sooner or later is going to happen. And we are a little country, but like Napoleon, we like to do big things. And we want to be one of the first ones to have a floating LNG. But we have put condition to our off-takers. The condition is that 25 to 30% of that gas need to be to the initiative LNG to Africa. It will be gas going to countries like Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, anybody who wants LNG. Of course, they need to pay, so this is not free. It's a business.
Investment Tips is brought to you by Daffing Finance, Deposits, Investments, Borrowings and Advisory.
Derivatives Securities, a financial instrument that has a value and return keyed to or derived from an underlying stock, bond, commodity or other resource.
Investment Tips was brought to you by Daffin Finance, Deposits, Investments, Borrowings and Advisory.
Thank you very much for staying on the marketplace. And like I told you earlier, we're going back to the financial sector, where shareholders of ADB Bank have made drastic changes to the bank's regulations, restricting government's hold on the bank. They also restricted the appointment of the bank's managing director to the board instead of the government. Now, George Wiafe has just returned from the AGM, and he's joined me right here in the studio to answer some questions. George, welcome.
Thank you so much, Rafi.
So what necessitated the AGM?
Well, you know, recently ADB actually did an IPO. They opened the bank up. Sure. Now, government used to have about more than 50% stake in the bank. Now, during or after this AGM, a lot of people picked up interest in it. Now, Belster Capital, an investment firm, post the IPO now has about 34%. Government interests have been reduced from over 50% to about 32%. Now you have Ecobank Development Corporation also having about 6% in it. Now the Bank of Ghana has 9% in it, and then Starmount, another investment firm, has about 11% in it.
So the shareholding structure has changed
totally, and making Belster Capital the majority shareholder in the bank. Now it's been almost 6 months now, if you should say, after the end of last year. There's supposed to be a board in place. There isn't a board in place. Even signing certain critical accounts of the bank has been difficult. So Belster moved for an emergency meeting to make some amendments to the bank's regulations and also ensure that they can now move ahead, nominate certain persons onto the board, and then the bank's activities can go ahead. And that is why they had this annual general meeting. There have been a lot of issues going around, but I put that issue to Kingsley Yina. He's actually representing Belster Capital on why this meeting, apart from these reasons that have been given, and what they aim or what they want to achieve. Let's watch Kingsley Yina. He is with Belster Capital.
Once an initial public offer has been effected and 450 shareholders approximately, I'm not sure about the total number, but minimum of 400 shareholders have come to add to it, the company's regulation must reflect that. In fact, there's more that we wanted to do, but we want to take our time and go through the regulations. But this one has to do with the governance of the company. And it's only important that those who've put so much money in it and have put their interest in the bank will have a say in the direction of the bank.
It's good you said that there were more things that you wanted to do. One of them is to make these sweeping changes to maybe possibly propose a new MD?
That's, as we mentioned, it's the board that's going to do that. So I cannot tell you here.
You have a majority hold on this board?
We do have a majority, or we will have a majority, but we'll wait till the board sits and the board is convened, and then we can take it from there.
Is it more of doing more of a, call it a corporate coup, maybe some would say?
I wouldn't say so. I think that we are going to sit down with government, as you saw from the regulation. We proposed that government will have 3 seats. So we are working with government. So we are not going to get up and say, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. No, we will work with government every step of the way, because we both have interests. So it's only meet and right that we do that.
From the shareholding, you be a majority shareholder in this company, all other things being equal. Are you going to make proposed changes in nominating a new MD to this bank?
I cannot stand here and say that. We will discuss
that. Will you table that at the next?
It is not impossible. We're going to have to look at it. But you see, this is the whole reason why this exercise is happening. Because until today, and even until the annual general meeting, when the board is convened, we do not have any access to company. The company has not even signed their accounts. So you can't even tell whether losses are being made. So there's so much that this is just to pave the way to give us as investors the latitude to work with government and make sure that we take this bank where it belongs.
All right, so obviously, is it Belster?
Yeah,
not too happy with the structures.
But now they looks like they have a controlling interest in ADB that used to be more of a state bank. Okay. Now this private investor now could be calling the shots very soon as in how the bank is run, who becomes the MD, and all those things.
Now, with this current developments, how was the atmosphere like?
Well, it was very, very interesting as well. But some will say that what other things that came up? Also, they also approved the fact that any shareholder that has more than 10% in the bank would have the right to be on the board. Now, when I entered the auditorium, I asked myself, okay, what is happening? Because the security personnel over there, I thought that they were armed too much, and for me, so I even saw one person with a pistol as well, with all this vest and all the rest, trying to protect them. I mean, more of you're thinking that something bad was going to happen. Yeah. So in terms of the atmosphere, I thought it was very, very, very interesting. But with all those things that happened, Edouard Anyinchi, he's the former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I put this question to him that looking at what has happened, was it a victory for corporate governance? Let's also watch him as well. He was at the meeting.
Well, it's a good thing when you have these such proposals coming from a shareholder and giving the opportunity for other shareholders to agree on. I think basically it's a good sign.
Some have called this more of a corporate coup because the single largest shareholder wants to put in place their own MD and all those things, and that is why all those things are happening.
No, I don't think we pass any resolution here appointing anybody as MD. Those are left for the directors to decide. But mind you, under the Companies Act, once you have 5%, you can call for an AGM and propose resolutions and allow the entire members to vote for or against it.
But you think it's a good thing for corporate governance and what is happening, also reducing government's hold on the bank?
No, the government doesn't have to have a hold on the bank. Government is not saying you want to have a hold on the bank. Government has 30-something percent, 32%. And the good thing is that they have, even shareholders have agreed to allow government to nominate a maximum of 3 people on the board. So government hasn't lost any.
Saying that the holding previously would have...
They held about 50-something%, but that has changed. And nobody forced the government to allow that. The government deliberately did that listing to ensure that the Ghanaians and other shareholders would have some shares in the company.
All right, so now I know it's going to come to the point where a new MD is going to be appointed. Now, who could it be?
We have no idea right now, but for the marketing person, we always tell you that watch the space, and it looks like a lot of things are going to come on the ADB space.
Let's wait and see.
Thank you so much, Yafi.
Thank you very much, George Yafi. Now, moving on, residents of Mansonkran in the Ashanti region are accusing Asanko Mining Company, which operates in the area, of environmental pollution and neglect of the local community. The youth of the town have petitioned the Regional Security Council over the matter as tension continues to rise. As Nana Sensu Mensah followed RegSec to the site and has filed this report.
The youth cite Asanko Mining for flouting environmental laws and also failing to fulfill terms of an agreement to allocate a quota of job placement to the indigents. They say the only source of drinking water is contaminated with sodium cyanide used by the mine, while many places in the town have become flood prone due to activities of the company. Mine officials, however, dismiss allegations of cyanide pollution of water sources in the area. Operations Manager Charles Amwa told Regional Minister Simon Osei Mensah during a fact-finding visit to the mine, measures are in place to deal with potential incidents of flood.
We look at them, and those that are not correct, we let them know that it's not correct, and those that require investigation further, we do it, and then our view is to bring it to conclusion successfully, whatever allegation they put there.
Mr. Amwa also explains the company has been unable to employ the required number of skilled labor in the community because checks revealed those who were presented are not indigents.
It will be appropriate that they come on board here for us to proof of how we go about even our employment processes. You came here and we've shown them to you, and then you've seen it. So they must come, and then we'll sit down and then we'll go through them.
Regional Minister Mr. Osei Mensah, who led the RegSec delegation, urged company management to constantly engage all stakeholders to resolve their differences.
They have sizable number of people that have been engaged from the community, even though the community members are still not satisfied. But we've told them to engage them, explain some of these issues to them, especially the district chief executive, who is also somebody who a native of the area, so that he can engage the community leaders and make sure that he explains some of these issues to them to bring peace between the company and the community people.
Nana Sensu Mensah reporting.
All right, so we're still live on the marketplace. Let's now move on to the oil and gas industry. The Scottish Government is advising government to put in place a robust local content policy that can help Ghana benefit from the oil find. Scotland and other countries in the Scandinavian regions are set to have secured more than expected in terms of revenue and economic transformation from oil discoveries. Now, Africa boss for the Scottish Development International Investment Agency, SDI, Andrew Monaghan, earlier placed emphasis in building the capacity and skills of Ghanaians, which he noted are very, very critical. Now, Andrew Monaghan has joined me right here in the studio to explore more about oil and local content in oil and gas. You're welcome, Andrew.
Thank you very much.
Now,
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, good. Now, what did Scotland do that Ghana has to still learn from to improve its oil and gas by way of local content?
Well, I would point to the fact that it's not that long ago in Scotland that we didn't have any oil and gas. It was in the 1970s that oil first came to our shores. And I am old enough to remember Aberdeen when it was a farming and fishing town. And since that time, we have grown to be the oil and gas capital of Europe. So I foresee that journey coming together.
I know. Let's take a quick break. We'll be coming back to you shortly.
Sure.
Investment Tips is brought to you by Ecobank Finance, Deposits, Investments, Borrowings and Advisory.
Derivatives securities. A financial instrument that has a value and return keyed to or derived from an underlying stock, bond, commodity or other resource.
Welcome back, and this is a marketplace. Andrew Monaghan is the Africa boss for the Scottish Development Investment Agency. Now, Andrew, you were telling us about what Scotland did differently from Ghana.
Sorry, what do you mean by differently?
Yeah, I mean, what steps did Scotland take to improve on its local content policy, by which Ghana would have to take a cue from to improve its own?
Scotland's journey to oil and gas was perhaps a little bit different to Ghana's, in as much as we never had and still never have a local content policy. Indeed, as members of the European Union, we are not allowed to have a local content policy. Okay. However, that does not stop me believing that Ghana's oil and gas local content policy is an extremely good one. And I think that you and Ghana are well set up, even within the region, as a test case for other markets.
Now, wait a minute. If you say you didn't have or you don't have local content policy, doesn't mean any other country can venture into your oil and gas industry and take portions or take oil blocks to explore anything like that.
Yeah, yes, it does actually. Yes, it does. That does not mean to say that we are not a regulated industry. We are a very regulated industry with the highest of standards. But there is no formal local content policy in Scotland.
Right. Now, what do you think are the threats to Ghana's own oil and gas industry, if you've been following, carefully, and what should we need to do to stop these threats?
Well, the biggest obstacle at the moment to growth and development of the oil and gas industry worldwide is the current price of oil. And there's nothing Ghana can do about that. There's nothing my country can do about it either. However, Ghana is intelligently progressing with its oil and gas industry, and there are several fields opening up now, and I think you're doing the right thing by investing in the future. But the present is tough for the oil and gas industry. We can't deny it.
You've also been talking about the fact that we need to build the capacity of our locals. I mean, we've been trying since the onset of the industry. People have gotten trained, but yet they come back and they can't even get positions in the industry because they don't have that required experience. What's your take on that?
Well, that is a subject that is extremely close to my heart. And while I'm here in Ghana, it is the one subject I'm really going to try and bring our expertise from Scotland in order to partner with you guys to do. Our oil and gas education and training is hardwired to our industry. And if I say so, it is extremely sophisticated and it is producing more than enough of those highly skilled people that we need. That model is available to Ghana and the rest of the region. And that is one thing that I would like to do that. We're already exporting that template, that model of education to other countries around the world. And there is nothing to stop us doing that in Ghana.
So what kind of education should Ghana be giving to its locals? Is it only the technological aspect or even the managerial aspect? Because according to our local content policy, we need to take over the industry wholly in the near future.
I think there is a greater concentration on graduate education in this country than there should be, to be quite honest. What we have in Scotland is what I would call a blue-collar elite, which is a lot of highly paid, highly skilled technicians. If people in this country, if they think of welding, for example, they think of somebody who can fix a gate or something like that, fix a car. But a welder that can perform his tasks in the North Sea is an extremely skilled person, and many of our youngsters now choose that path rather than go to university, and often they are paid as well as any graduate.
All right. Finally, what's your very last words for Ghana? I mean, for its oil and gas sector.
I genuinely believe, I'm not just saying that because I'm on TV here, but I genuinely believe that Ghana's local content policy is one that is extremely well suited to Ghana and well suited to the region.
I thank you very much for your time and for your analysis on this particular topic. And thank you for having you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I've been speaking with Andrew Monaghan. He is the Africa boss for the Scottish Development and Investment Agency. We've been talking about local content development in the oil and gas sector. And that wraps up this afternoon's edition of The Marketplace. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, do have a great weekend as we bring you more business stories next Monday. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafe. Have a good afternoon.